Problem. And
Oh,
and like everybody else mentioned, I need all the help I could get 7 days a week.
Okay.
oh,
So we're
are we talking about the puzzle or?
Okay, we're going to start.
Okay.
Hi. Oh, boy. Hi, everybody. Thank you very much for coming tonight. Thank you, Sangeeta. Oh, Sangeeta, who I even know. Sangeeta, thank you for my muscles. Union Public Library says hello and to everyone. We're thrilled you're here. I'm not going to go into a big conversation, just two things. If you can put in chat how you heard about tonight's program, and please sign up for our newsletter by just writing yes on letting me know that you want to get on. So I have to come up with another phrase besides without further ado. Deb Amlen is the lead columnist and senior editor of Wordplay and in the game section of the New York Times, and she's many other things. She's written books, and we're delighted to have her tonight. Deb?
Well, thank you very much, Debbie. Welcome, everybody. First of all, thank you so much for coming tonight. I am so glad to see this many puzzle lovers gathered together. I just want to get a show of hands before we continue. How many people routinely do, and by routinely, I would say more than 3 times a week, do the New York Times crossword? Okay, well, that's cool. It's always nice to have ringers. We also have a lot of people here who don't have their cameras on, unfortunately, so I can't see, but I also see some people who are probably waiting to learn how to do it. And I believe, and I've been doing this for a long time, I believe that everybody can learn to do the New York Times crossword. It's just a matter of understanding what the clues are asking you to do. So a lot of people think that the New York Times is hard because they have to know a lot of facts, and there's some truth to that, but the real secret is in learning some of the rules about how clues are written. And once you know that, your solving gets much, much easier. But before I get into that, first, I wanted to just say 2 things. Yes, my hair is very blue. Don't adjust your laptops. And also welcome to my bathroom, because it's the only place in my house that has decent light and is quiet and away from my kids. So we have, let's see, we've got a lot of people tonight. Carrie is raising her hand. Carrie, I'm going to ask you if you wouldn't mind to wait until we're done with the presentation. I do have some things that I want to let you in on, all these juicy secrets about how to solve, but then I will be more than happy to take some questions. Debbie, would you please put the first slide on?
I will.
Okay, so the New York Times crossword, as you all know, and please feel free to advance to the next slide, has been around since 1942. It started as a way to distract people from the woes of the news of World War II. And it was a weekly until 1950 when it became a 7 days a week puzzle. And since then, we have built up an enormous audience. It's very, very popular, and we have over 1 million subscribers now to the New York Times crossword. I'm very proud. I'm actually looking at another copy of my presentation for notes, and just to show you how long ago I wrote this, it says 500,000 online subscribers. Now we have 1 million. Part of that is due to the puzzle. Part of that is due to some of the other games we've added, like Spelling Bee. I'm sure you've heard of that. And we have tiles and vertex and Sudoku. And you had to have been under a rock not to hear, but we are very, very proud of the fact that New York Times has just bought Wordle, and we will be offering it to our readers. So we're very excited about that. But back to the puzzle. Would you mind to the next one? Okay, great. So you know, people say, well, how do I get started? It is looking at a blank crossword is probably one of the most intimidating things on the face of the earth. You know, honestly, if you could go to the next slide, I would just, you know, find a comfy chair. You know, that's the first thing. You want to be comfortable. I wish I was on the beach right now, but unfortunately it's February around here and we're not going to be going to the beach for a while. If we could go to the next slide, please. The biggest thing for people who are just starting is to start with the Mondays. I think we talked about this a little bit in the chat before. The puzzles for the New York Times increase in difficulty throughout the week. So Mondays are the easiest. And by easy, I really mean straightforward. And I'm going to tell you what that means in a second. The puzzles increase in difficulty. Thursday is a very tricky one, but not really the hardest. Friday and Saturday are themeless ones, which are also a little bit more difficult. And Saturday is really the toughest one of the week. Some people have heard that it gets harder as the week goes on, and that's true, except for Sunday. Sunday is actually more of a midweek in terms of difficulty. It's just bigger. It's 21 by 21 as opposed to the 15 by 15 dailies. Can you go to the next slide, please? Okay, to recap so far, Monday, great place to start. Next slide, please. Saturday is, as Paul Sorvino, the actor, once said, the bitch mother of all crossword puzzles. And I'm going to show you what I mean by that. Can we go to the next slide, please? You have some typical Monday clues here for a very common entry in the New York Times crossword puzzle. Nabisco cookie, cookie with cream filling. And you can see from the picture what we're talking about. Now, on a Monday, the clues are going to try to help you go from clue to answer as directly as possible. So if you know that Oreos are made by Nabisco, or when you think of a cookie, you think of the Oreo as the cookie with the cream filling that you twist off. And that's what you would probably expect with a typical Monday clue. If you go to the next slide, please. Here's what you might see on a Saturday, and these are really difficult. If you had a clue for a 4-letter word that said it has 12 flowers on each side, do you think Oreo would be the first thing that comes to mind? It wouldn't for me, except that I've seen this already. I think that you know, you would have to work. You'd have to either solve it from the crossings, or if you happen to be the kind of person who looks at their Oreos that closely and has counted the flowers on the chocolate cookie, then you might know this. And it also, Snack Since 1912 is another one. You probably don't, you probably wouldn't know that off the top of your head. So they're not kidding when they talk about the Saturday clues. And if we could go to the next slide, please. That's right, we're talking about Oreos. Okay, no, that's okay. Practice makes better. It doesn't make perfect, and you don't have to be perfect to solve the New York Times crossword, or any crossword for that matter. However, you may see things repeated from puzzle to puzzle, because there's only so many entries that will fit in a grid and only so many clues that we can use to see them. So you may see Oreo in a puzzle, and the more you do the puzzles, the more familiar you'll get with how these clues sound and what the answer is probably going to be. So I always encourage people to solve as often as possible. I think that it really, really does help. Next slide, please. The second rule is, or the second suggestion I have, because we'll get to rules later, is find your gimmies. Now, by gimmies, I mean things that you absolutely know off the top of your head and can fill in really not thinking that you're going to get them wrong. Things that are easy to you. And I mean to you, I mean, people have different wheelhouses. Some people are into sports, some people are into theater, some people are into science, and there are different areas of knowledge that you're going to know better than others. So I happen to be a pop culture maven. And so when there are pop culture questions in the crossword, I tend to get those and I fill those in first. Not only does it set you up to feel like you're winning, to be able to write those in confidently, but it also gives you a way to spread out. And we're going to get into what that means later. By gimmies, you can also do, and you please advance the slide, the fill in the blanks questions first. And I'll tell you what a fill in the blanks clue would be. Can you please advance? All right, so this is a fill in the blank clue. There's a blank and you're being asked to fill in Winnie the Pooh, right. It's something that your brain fills in automatically. Your brain loves to fill in missing information. So if you see that, you're probably going to know it. Some are harder than others, but most of the time your brain is going to be able to help you figure that out. That's why I suggest starting with the fill in the blanks to the extent that you can get them. So now you've got your gimmies, you've got your fill in the blanks done, and you're well into the puzzle. And look at you, you're solving the New York Times crossword. That's awesome. Can we have the next slide, please? Now that we have a few entries in the puzzle, I suggest to people that you start to look at the crossings. And those are, if you have a cross entry written in, those are the downs that cross that one. That's a way to sort of spread out your territory and keep solving, because the more of them you solve and the more letters you fill in, the more likely your brain is to recognize the pattern and fill it in. So, for example, can you advance the slide, please? Whoops. Okay. So let's say you're having a cross clue. It's a 3-letter word that says black Halloween animal. You would probably write in cat, right? Because black cat, spooky. Here's the thing though, and here's where you start to get into trouble. If you do the crossing, if you look at the crossing, and can you please advance the slide? The down clue would be, and here's one of the fill in the blanks, honest blank, a presidential moniker. Now that would be Abe for Abe Lincoln. It's 3 letters. This is pretty much something that everybody knows. But it just goes to show you that a cat is not always a cat, and a cat is not always the Halloween animal we're looking for, because the bat happens to be the right answer, and that's also a black Halloween animal. The next slide is going to be a little contentious. I swear to you, it's okay to look things up. A lot of people disagree with me. A lot of people have called it cheating. I think if you advance the next slide and advance to the next slide, please. I think it's a much more fun attitude to look at it as learning, not cheating. And here's what I mean. If you have to, and I will freely confess, I have been doing this for 11 years. I've been writing the column. I've been solving for longer, but I've been writing wordplay since 2011. And I know my crossword puzzles, but occasionally there are things that I don't know. And in order to explain it to my readers, I have to look things up. So I am actually always grateful when I can walk away from a crossword puzzle having learned something. Number one, because yay me, I now know another fact. And 2, I may know it for next time. right? So next time that clue is not going to get the best of me. Next slide, please. Take a break if you get stuck. This is really important, and it has to do with the way the brain works. We're really big fans of the brain at the New York Times Crossword, and I think it has an incredible work ethic, but even brains get tired. So one of the things that happens is sometimes people will fill in as much as they possibly can and then get stuck. And it happens to everybody. It happens to me too. It's always good to put the puzzle down for a second and walk away and do something else. The reason for that is, and they've done studies on this, when you walk away and do something else, your brain is sort of like a computer. It continues to work on things in the background. It's actually a theory called incubation, where your brain is incubating ideas that your conscious couldn't quite pull out of you. So by the time you get back to the puzzle and you pick it up again, I can almost promise you that it's going to know the answer. And it's really amazing too. I always love when that happens. Next slide, please. Okay, here we go. This is the part that is going to, so far we've just been using suggestions on how to get started, how to attack the puzzle. This is the part that's going to really help you with your solving. Next slide, please. Okay, matching. Next slide, please. This is a big one because it really affects a majority of the clues. The answers have to match the clues in terms of tense. For example, if you have a past tense clue, your answer has to be past tense. Could you advance the slide, please? For example, you have a 5-letter entry and the clue is just the word adored. Next slide, please. So you have 3 choices here. You know it has something to do with love, but do you think it's loves, lover, or loved? Put it, yeah, a lot of people are saying C, and that would be the correct one. It wouldn't be loves because loves is present tense and adored is past tense. So if you know that it's going to be the same tense from clue to answer, that really helps you with the answer, as long as you know that it's love. Because I've seen people look at a clue like adored and write in lover or loves because they don't know this rule. Next slide, please. Okay, so you were right. Past tense clue, past tense answer. Next slide, please. And this has to do with almost everything you're going to run into in the clues. Parts of speech. If it's a noun clue, the answer has to be a noun. If it's a plural in the clue, it has to be a plural answer. And if it's another language other than English in the clue, you're being asked to give the answer in that specific language. So if there's Spanish words in the clue, and please don't worry if you don't speak another language, these are very basic foreign language words that you most likely know. So if you have Spanish in the clue, the answer has to be in Spanish. Let's see, if I can give you an example. I ran into a clue called, and I hope I'm pronouncing this right, Oaxaca gold. Okay, Oaxaca gold, and it's a 3-letter answer. And the answer was oro. Oro is gold in Spanish. And the reason I knew that is because if you're talking about Oaxaca, which is a Mexican city, or I don't know if it's a city or a state, then you would give the answer in Spanish. Can we have the next slide, please? Partner clues. I love these. These are also fairly easy. I'm trying to list them in order from easiest to hardest. We'll get to the really tough ones later, Deb, so you can learn to solve your Saturdays. Next one, please. When you see a partner clue, it's going to say partner of, and what it's really asking you to do is come up with a word that would normally be partnered with the word live, or whatever word they're saying, and attached by the word and. So what we're looking for is live and blank, or blank and live. Okay, so let's go to the next slide. And it would be learn. Partner of live is learn, because we have the idiom live and learn. Okay, and let's see, abbreviations. A lot of people ask me about these because the rules can vary sometimes, but it goes back to the matching clue we were talking about before. If there is an abbreviation in the clue, the answer has to be an abbreviation. So don't try to write in the whole word, and I'll give you an example. Can we go to the next slide, please? Okay, an abbreviation means that the answer is abbreviated. Next slide, please. Okay, here's a clue, trial fig. Okay, fig has a dot at the end. That means it's an abbreviation. And the answer is 4 letters. So I know that you're all muted and I can't ask you to all give the answer at once, so I'm going to walk you through it. Trial fig is short for, or the abbreviated form of trial figure, right? Trial figure. So what do you think? Who is a trial figure that you can abbreviate to 4 letters? Can we have the next slide, please? The answer would be attorney, A-T-T-Y, because a trial figure is an attorney, and A-T-T-Y is the common way to abbreviate that. So again, abbreviation in the clue, abbreviation in the answer. And can we have the next slide, please? So you're going to see this in different ways. One of the ways you might see it is with ABBR period in parentheses, which means abbreviation. Another way you might see it is ABBR dot word, so, or abbreviated word. Or if they're feeling particularly playful, you might see it as, you might have the words for short in the clue, or in brief, like trial figure for short, or trial figure in brief, which actually is pretty funny. So that's the abbreviation section. And those, again, what I would love for you to take away, if you take away nothing else, is to remember that the clues, the answers have to match the clues in some way. They have to match in terms of tense, they have to match in terms of parts of speech, they have to match in terms of abbreviation or foreign languages. And if you could go to the next slide, please. Congratulations, you now know enough to get midway through the week on a New York Times crossword puzzle. Yay you, that's, I mean, I'm telling you, that's a lot right away. That's going to make your solving a lot better. If you could go to the next slide, please. All right, cracking the harder clues. Everybody ready to go on? All righty. Next slide, please. So there you will see some slang in puzzles. And the one thing that makes me laugh more than pretty much anything is the debate that I see in the comments on Wordplay between older solvers who resent the fact that we have slang like bay in the puzzle. Every time bay is in the puzzle, I shudder because I know what's going to happen. A fight breaks out with the older solvers who say, how am I supposed to know that? And then if you could go to the next slide, please, we have the younger solvers who complain about older slang like moolah. So, you know, viva la generational difference. If you're going to solve the crossword, you got to know both. And again, if you practice fairly regularly, you will learn both, and you can impress your grandchildren, or you can, if you're younger, you can impress your grandparents. And if we could move on, please. Clues with a question mark. One of the most confusing clues that the New York Times crossword offers. If you see a clue with a question mark, that means that there's wordplay afoot. The clue is not to be read at its face. So, for example, on the next slide, let's say we have oh, I think you skipped one.
Okay.
But that's okay. No, let's stay there. If you have the clue current events, question mark, and the answer has 5 letters in it, you might think, and now you can go to the next slide, that we're talking about something that has to do with the news, current events, right? That we talk about things that are happening now. But there's that question mark, which means that we can't take this at face value. We have to look at those 2 words, current and events, and think of, I mean, I swear to God, if I could have a t-shirt that said, what else could it mean? I would probably wear that every time I talk to people. You have to think about what else current events could mean. And if we can go to the next slide, please. Now, the answer happens to be tides, because the current that we're talking about in current events has to do with the current of the ocean, not news currents. So the answer would be tides. And everybody is probably sitting there thinking, God, that is so unfair. But this is what you get into when you go past the midweek of the puzzle. Now, honestly, I loved being fooled. I think it is so awesome when a constructor thinks up a really clever clue that takes me down. I'm in awe of the wordplay. I'm in awe of the fact that they even think like that. And so if I see a clue like current events with the question mark, and the answer is tides, because a tide is an event in a current, I think that's really cool. Some people don't like that. They don't like being fooled. And if for those people, if you could advance the slide, please. This is the guy you want to complain to. Will is the crossword puzzle editor, and he's been with us since 1993. You can send your strongly worded letters to this address, and he most likely will not answer them. Can we go to the next clue, please? Slide. Okay, here's another thing that really aggravates a lot of people. Next one, please. You can write more than one letter in a square in some crossword puzzles. For clues like the question mark that we just talked about, or the rebus, which I'm about to talk about, you're probably only going to see them in later week puzzles. So if you do Monday through Wednesday and you've never seen this before, don't panic. But if you do push through to the Thursdays, where I swear to God, you'll have the most fun. I love it. It's my favorite day of the week. You may see a puzzle where you have to write more than one letter in a square. If you did the Sunday New York Times crossword this past weekend, you may have run into something like this, where you had to write, I don't want to spoil it for people, but it was brilliant. You do have to write more than one letter in a square. Can we please go to the next slide? So what is a rebus? Again, you have to write more than one letter inside a square. And it's, we can look at an example from a past puzzle. If you go to the next slide. This is a puzzle by Jules Markey from August 20th, 2015. And it looks innocent, right? But if we go to the next slide, we have two clues. 27 across says they rarely cover more than 2 feet in a day. And 14 down says 1970s TV series set at 165 Eaton Place. Now, they rarely cover more than 2 feet in a day is in itself wordplay. But if you get to the latter half of the week, you may not always see those question marks that I talked about. You have to figure out that it's wordplay. So my way of attacking it would be, I don't know on face value what would cover more than 2 feet in a day. So I think that 2 feet is probably a key to this clue, and it probably means something else other than, you know, the things at the end of your legs. So they rarely cover more than 2 feet in a day is it could be a measurement, but we're looking for the they. We're looking for a plural noun. And it actually does have to do with the feet, I'm sorry. Now, if you have a pair of socks, those rarely cover more than 2 feet in a day. Okay, they only cover 2 feet in a day. But the problem we have is that if the answer is pair of socks, we don't have room to write it in. Look where we got to pair of SOC. And that's as far as we can go. So what we have to think of is the fact that there may be a way to fit the entire thing in if we write more than one letter in a square at some point. We also have the 1970s TV series, which turned out to be Upstairs, Downstairs. However, look what happens if we try to write that in. We also run out of room. Okay, so let's advance to the next slide, please. And if you are solving on paper, it's very easy. If you figure this out, all you have to do is write very small inside one square. But if you do it on your iPad, or you do it on your laptop, or you do it on your phone, obviously you need a different way to enter more than one letter in a square. And we do that by looking at the rebus button, which is up at the right-hand corner, highlighted in blue. And you click on that, and what that does, if you look at the entry, there's a yellow box there that opens up with a cursor. And normally that cursor is flashing. What you would do is you would write your rebus inside that square. It will allow you to write more than one letter there, and then you hit the enter button. And if we could go to the next slide, there we go. You write PAIR in one square of socks, and we can now fit the whole thing in. And likewise with the down entry, UPST air downstairs. And there's actually one at the bottom too, but I hadn't filled that one in. If you could go to the next square, please. You can do this on your phone too. Depending on what device you have, you can find the rebus button under the More button if you're on iOS, or under the ellipsis. And I know I'm throwing a lot at you, but there are things you can read on Wordplay that will help you, and I will tell you what they are at the end. The iOS button again is under More. The Android one is under the ellipsis, and you can enter more than one letter in a square on there. Okay, let's go to the next one. This is the hard, actually, This is the second to hardest clue that we have in New York Times crosswords. Let's say, if we can go to the next slide, we have a 4-letter entry and the clue is Turkey Club. Now, there's a question mark there. You've heard about that before, right? We just talked about that. So that automatically means that you should be thinking of other things that can describe a turkey club without actually being the sandwich. Please change the slide. All right, so you would automatically probably think of the sandwich, right? But that question mark means we have to think of what else turkey club could mean. And if you advance the slide, it could also mean that the turkeys have formed a club and are getting ready to take over. But that's not where this is going. Can we change the slide, please? The turkey club we're talking about is NATO. And I know that doesn't make a whole lot of sense to you, but here's the rationale behind this. The country of Turkey has a capital T because it is the name of a country. It's a proper noun. What veiled capital clues do is they very, very sneakily hide that capital letter or hide the fact that it's supposed to be a proper noun at the beginning of the clue. Because as we all know, when you start a sentence like a clue, there's a capital at the beginning of the sentence. So even though it looks like we're starting off the sentence with the word turkey, it's actually it's veiled, it's hidden from you that it actually means the country of Turkey. And the reason it's a club, Turkey Club, is because Turkey is a member of NATO. It's part of the club. And these are hard, I'm not lying to you, but they, when you think about it, when you start to run into them, you will start to get it. And once again, if you would advance the slide, please. Once again, the name is Will Shorts, Crosswords editor, 628th Avenue, New York, New York. You can complain to him. All right, on to the final hardest clue that we offer. This trips people up all the time. Next clue, please. A heteronym is a word that is spelled, or two words that are spelled the same but are pronounced differently. So, for example, and heteronyms, if we could advance the slide, please. Evil, definitely evil. So let's move on to the next one. And here's an example, nice one. Nice one. The answer is 3 letters. And I don't know if anybody wants to take a crack at the answer, if you want to put it in the chat. What do you think it is? What do you think the answer is to nice one? Oh, hold on. You guys are definitely in the right, area, right neighborhood, absolutely. Now, the answer, if we can go to the next slide, please, is definitely un. So congratulations to you who got it. And by the way, Mamie May put one, W-O-N in, and I really want to congratulate, that's very clever thinking because you thought about a heteronym for the word O-N-E. Unfortunately for this one, we were talking about Nice, the city in France. So it's not nice one, it's Nice 1, the number 1 in French. And I told you were going to have to figure out these matching clues. Foreign language in the clue, Nice. Foreign language in the answer, une, and because that's the way you would say 1 in French. But I like that W-O-N. That was very, very clever thinking. Okay, here's another one. Can we advance the slide, please? Knockout number. This one is 5 letters. Who can Who can solve this one? Anybody? 5 letters for knockout number. Well, that's good. Somebody said punch. That's a good one. Remember that we're talking about heteronyms though. So a knockout number, punch for knockout number would be a way to knock somebody out, but there's not really a round. Yeah, absolutely. Everybody was going to think of this. Amy McGee got it. I'll bet you did that puzzle, Amy. The answer is, and can you please advance the slide? Ether. 5 letters, because it knocks you out and makes you numb. It's a number, right? I love these. I think they're awesome. Please don't feel bad if you don't get these. I mean, you would see this, I was going to say at least Thursday, maybe on a Friday puzzle, probably on a Saturday. If we could go to the next slide, this one is Will Shortz's favorite. He says it fooled everybody the first time it ran. The clue is moving supply, 5 letters. Let's see if you guys can get this one. This one fooled a lot of people. So if you are fooled, don't feel bad. You're in very good company. Moving supply. Now remember, we're talking about heteronyms. So they are spelled the same, but they are pronounced differently. Tape is a good guess. It's okay. It's totally okay. If you're ready, I can Richard Shear, you're very, very close. Boxes is another good guess. Can we please advance to the next slide? The answer is lies, because it's not moving supply, it's moving supply, as in being supple or agile, right? And somebody just fell off their chair. Now, again, please don't feel bad if you don't get these. I am showing you the outside of what most people solve, but it's good to know it because you never know when these things will come up. We say that the puzzles get harder as the week goes on, but every now and then you might find a Wednesday that's harder than a Thursday, or a Tuesday, Friday clue in a Tuesday puzzle. Generally, the editors try not to do that, but it happens. And if you want to be able to solve, knowing all of these things are very helpful in getting you to solve. And that, if you could advance to the last slide, please. That's pretty much it. That is our presentation for tonight. I know there's a lot that I threw at you. Debbie, I can tell you that we have permission. I'm sorry we didn't do this in advance, but if you want to print out that deck, you are welcome to distribute it to the people who are here tonight.
Okay, I'll have to email it to them. Okay, great. So that's
fine.
Exciting news flash. We will be sharing the deck with you.
Yeah.
So we're going to get to your questions. I'm going to ask you to raise.
I'm sorry, Debbie, can I just say a couple of things?
Sure.
Thank you very much, guys. Please don't go anywhere though, because I still have some stuff to tell you. In case you are not totally sure what Wordplay is, we are the games section, the editorial games section of the New York Times, and I lead the Wordplay column, which is the daily crossword column. So that is, for every puzzle that's published, there is an accompanying Wordplay article. that explains the puzzle. You know, I write some jokes that, you know, nobody gets. We talk about the theme. I take you through the theme. And there are also notes from the constructors that talk about how they made the puzzle, which are always very interesting. And there is a huge community there of people who love to talk about the puzzles. So if you are on nytimes.com and you search for Wordplay, you will see a whole lot of terrific articles, including, if you scroll down a little bit, how to solve the New York Times crossword. A lot of what I told you tonight is in there. And it even comes with 13 little mini crosswords that you can use to practice your newfound skills. If you are interested in making a crossword puzzle, because the New York Times has open submissions, there is also a series of articles that I wrote called How to Make a Crossword Puzzle right next to that. And we have a lot of other things. We talk about language. We talk about, you know, how to play our other games. We you know, have freelance pieces and stuff that runs. And then once you scroll below that and below the very large ad that they placed right in the middle of my page, there is a stream of articles or a column of articles that are both the Spelling Bee forum, where you can go to discuss Spelling Bee, and the daily Wordplay column, where you can go to discuss the crossword puzzle. You know, again, thank you so much for coming, and I would like to open it up for any questions you have.
So I'm going to ask you to either raise your hand or put it in chat. I didn't see any questions in chat. So I might also, okay, we've got Bernard, but before I say that, I just want to say, I'm going to say thank you, Deb, officially, but I want to remind everybody to get you can unsubscribe to the newsletter. All you have to do is write the word yes in chat and I will put you on the list. Easy to unsubscribe. For those in Union and access to Union Library, we just opened up our main library on Stuyvesant Avenue, big news. And if you live, work, or go to school in Union, you can get a library card. Okay, first question is Bernard Flashberg. Okay, I'm going to ask you to unmute. Can you unmute yourself, Bernard?
Yep.
There you go.
Yeah. Thanks, Deb, for this very entertaining session. I want to also thank you for the wordplay. It's really, really fun to watch and to read, and oftentimes having the videos attached is interesting. I'm curious. The word aloe, A-L-O-E, is there a lot? Mm-hmm. Is there a reason for that?
We love aloe over at Wordplay. No, I'm kidding. When you make a crossword puzzle, you rely a lot on vowels. And if you notice, aloe has 3 vowels in it. And also, you can really get stuck in a corner when you're trying to fill a puzzle. And a word like that will really help you get out of a sticky situation. Generally, if you think about the English language, the words are like consonant, vowel, consonant, vowel, consonant, vowel. So something that has extra vowels is very helpful.
Deb, I think you need to get off your other computer because we're getting an echo.
How's that?
Okay.
Sorry.
Bernard, good answer. You're satisfied?
Oh, yes. Thank you very much.
Okay, Carrie C.
Hello, my name is Carrie. Thank you for putting together this meeting, Deb. Great to hear you speak on a pastime of mine that I've been doing since the 11th grade of high school.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to jump in on you, but I'm having trouble understanding what's being said. I think somebody else is talking.
I think they might have muted now. I heard that's you, but I don't hear it anymore. Can you hear me clearly?
Yes, thank you.
I thank you for joining us and for offering your insights to something I was saying that I've been doing since the 11th grade. I used to be teased for it, and now I feel a far more respect for it. 2 questions that are kind of separate, but one, you brought up a good point. So a question mark, I always know it as like kind of like a pun, but sometimes a clue is being clever without the question mark, right? And what comes to mind is if I see like head of France, right?
Yeah.
That could be FEFF because the head of France, the word France starts with an F, or it could be tete,
Yes.
right? But sometimes the clue is just clever enough to not, like the heteronymous clues as well, to not have the question marks. So are the question marks just more to alert people during the Monday through Wednesday puzzles and might not be there Thursday through Sunday?
You know, I've talked to Will and some of the other puzzle editors about this a lot. It's an excellent question and it comes up very often. And, you know, and I think we can boil it down to what the hell, Will. One of the things that they tell me is that a clue will get a question mark if it's deemed to be a bit stretchy from the truth. So rather than thinking of it as a pun, it's better to think of it in terms of, does this thing really exist? So head of France might not get a question mark because there is a head of France, there's the president, and then there's, you're right, the foreign language clue. People who are thinking in terms of a head of France, the answer could be tete. It could also be the first letter, the head or the start of the word France, which would be F, and that's spelled EFF in a crossword because you can't have fewer than 3 letters in a word. So I can't really think of an example right now, but I think it's better to think about question mark clues as things that are stretching the truth a bit. Does that make sense?
That makes sense because it reminds me of when I saw the clue French toast and the answer 5 letters was salute.
Right.
SALUT. Second question very quickly, sorry to take up so much time, but cryptic puzzles, which are in the London Times and used to be in 5 Days magazine in New York. Has there ever been any consideration to include those?
We do. In the magazine, in the New York Times magazine that comes out on the weekend, and online on Thursdays, we have what's called the variety puzzle. And Caitlin Lovinger writes the weekend columns and the varieties for me. The cryptics don't come up as often as they used to, and I consider that such a shame because they're wonderful. If anybody wants an extra challenge, cryptic crosswords are the types of crosswords that you would see in a British newspaper, or actually pretty much the rest of the world. I mean, to the rest of the world, cryptics are just crosswords. I love them. Each clue is a puzzle in itself.
Yep.
And you really, really have to think about how to translate. And there's a recipe for it. You can figure, I won't go into it now, but you can figure it out. And we've written about that. I can't give you a date for it because at this point I've written about 4,000 articles for the New York Times, but we have, if you go back and you look at the variety columns, you can find more information on cryptics there. So they will run as a variety puzzle, but not every day, unfortunately.
Okay, thank you. Online? Because I don't think I did come up on my app.
Yeah, they run online. The same variety puzzle that's in the magazine runs online, with the exception of spelling bee.
Thank you so much.
Sangita, you have a question?
Yes. I wrote in the chat, axiom, idiom, and maxim. Those drive me crazy.
Yeah, they drive me crazy too. Are you asking whether they're interchangeable?
Well, even when I look up the definitions of those 3 words, it doesn't really help me much. I think idiom is probably the most different, right? That's just like
It's more like a saying that everybody kind of knows, like a stitch in time saves 9. But you could also call
Say that
that
again?
a maxim. I think my copy editors would probably argue with me on that, but I use them interchangeably.
Okay.
Okay, Sangita?
I'm sorry,
We're up.
Kelly has had her hand raised probably since the beginning. I don't know if she still has a question.
Who was that?
Carrie C.
Harry C, are you still here?
I already spoke. I'm sorry. I keep forgetting.
Oh,
to-
Harry C.
Oh,
Okay,
I'm
great.
sorry. Yeah.
Next up is Stephanie.
I was wondering about if you have any advice for clues that reference the answer to another clue.
Yes. Well, you pretty much just follow the directions. What Stephanie's asking about are what we call cross-referenced clues. And those are the clues where you'll see it say C17 across. And 17 across will be a hint at the clue. So what you have to do is figure out between the two clues what is said. It's usually 2 words and just broken up. And so if you can figure out 17 across, you could probably figure out that one. For those, in terms of solving, for those, I really recommend using the crossers to figure out as much of it as you can, and then just taking a guess, because they're hard. They withhold a lot of information from you. So, but, and I know you're laughing, they have, they're always fair. There's always a rhyme and a reason for something. So what I do when I run into a cross-reference clue that I don't know, I will just solve around it until I can take a good guess.
Sounds good. Thank you.
You want to ask, I think it's Noreen McManus. Did you have a question or did you want, okay, you're good. Okay, okay, now I'm going to unmute everybody because that's, why not? Wait.
And somebody, oh, I think it was Noreen mentioned Puzzle Mania, which is a separate section that comes out around Christmas time. It's usually the week before Christmas. It comes out in the print times. Yes, it's a big section full of puzzles, and it is so much fun. It is so much fun. A lot of
chocolate. Oh, it's so
yeah, absolutely. I think that if you are a print subscriber, you probably have run into it. And if you're not, I suggest that like the week before Christmas, you pick up a copy of the Sunday New York Times, because you will love this. And a lot of people do it as a team. I've cut some of the puzzles out and taped them up on the wall. And as my family passes by, we always fill something in. And they're not just crosswords.
Great. Jackie, do you have a question?
No, I'm good.
Okay. Deb, how'd you get into this? How does one become a crossword puzzle expert?
Practice, practice, practice. Just like getting to Carnegie Hall. You know, a lot of people would like to think there's a magic answer to this, and it really isn't. Again, it's about doing them often and remembering those rules that I taught you that Debbie will distribute to you. And again, please, there's even more in the guide on how to solve the New York Times crossword. So if you would like, please go to Wordplay. I think it's nytimes.com/column/wordplay.
I'll include the reference to that in a follow-up.
And you know, you just keep doing them. I will admit to you, and I have never admitted this in public before, that I was not a great solver when I took this job. I was hired because it was a very uber intellectual column before I got there, and I'm a humor writer as a trade. And so they asked me, because I was also a constructor and I had made puzzles before, you know, if I would like to take over the column and lighten it up a little bit. So, and I always think people learn better when they're having fun. So we try to make it as much fun as possible. I think that talking about it with the commenters on Wordplay, reading Wordplay, trying to work your way through the New York Times How to Solve guide is helpful. But most of all, do it. This is the one hobby that you definitely get better by doing it often.
Right, and sharpen our brain cells. Mamie, would you like to ask the next
Sure.
question?
Do you follow people who like have blogs about the puzzle? Like I always think of Rex Parker.
Oh, yeah, he always comes
And
up.
if you do, does he ever like a puzzle?
No. I know Rex.
Is it?
I know him. I've known him for a long time. The big question we have with him is, if he doesn't like them, why does he keep doing it? You know, it's like slamming your finger in a car door over and over and over again. But I think, you know, everybody has a shtick. I write humor. Rex hates the puzzles. I think that, you know, it's become sort of like a thing. People stop by to Rubberneck and go, oh my God, what is wrong with him? So yeah, and honestly, behind the scenes, he's a really good guy. He's a family man, and he's a nice guy.
And it amazes me that he can do a puzzle in like 9 minutes.
Yeah,
It takes me a whole day.
Yeah, well, that's okay, because again, I've always said that, you know, it's really, I hate to, you know, use a cliche, but it's the destination, not, I mean, it's the journey, not the destination. Because I think that wordplay is so much fun, and I'm not talking about the column, I'm talking about playing with words, is so much fun that I would rather enjoy the solve than speed solve. I have done it. I mean, I've gone to the American Crossword Puzzle Tournament, tanked badly, and then decided I was going to go and cover it for the Times instead, because that was, at least I could keep my dignity. I think that, yeah, there are a lot of different blogs out there. There are a lot of indie crossword puzzles. I would like to give them a special shout out, because they have really, as far as I am concerned, improved the quality of crossword puzzles in mainstream newspapers.
What is an indie crossword puzzle?
An indie crossword puzzle is a puzzle that is published by the constructor himself, or by a smaller group that is not affiliated with a newspaper. So for example, Brendan Emmett Quigley is a friend of mine. He has a website called brendanemmettquigley.com, and he posts, you know, a puzzle every day, and they're free. The Incubator is a group of puzzles written by women, edited by women, for women, because women were underrepresented in the New York Times crossword puzzle. And their money goes toward women-friendly charities. There is something called Queer Crosswords, which is written by people who are LGBTQIA, and that goes to, you know, LGBTQIA charities. So those are all indie puzzles that are floating out there on the web that people can do, sometimes for free, sometimes you have to make a contribution, some of them are subscription, but all of them have challenged, and I'm going to say this as an employee of the New York Times, have challenged the New York Times to become more up to date with its puzzles, to be more inclusive in terms of its clues. And I think that's a really good thing. I really do.
So I'm going to take Stephanie's question as the last question, because it's getting late. I want to thank you all for being here tonight.
Yes.
I'm having a good time. I think I'm just going to ace the next puzzle I try. And again, feel free to put just write the word yes on chat, and I will include you. I'll send you the newsletter. And I really want to thank Deb and all of you for being here tonight. And with that, we'll go to Stephanie's question. Stephanie?
Okay, Deb, I was just wondering, do you solve in pencil or in pen?
I solve online. I used to print them out and solve on pencil when my kids were smaller and I had to take the puzzles everywhere. Like when I was waiting to pick up the kids at school, I'd be sitting there solving. I have to solve them ahead of time in order to make deadlines. So I go in through a back door and I solve them where they're waiting to be published. And then I write my column from there.
Fair enough. Thank you.
So the great mystery is resolved. We all know now how Deb solves her puzzles. How about Will? How does he solve the puzzles?
Well, he edits the puzzles. I know he does solve them. I know he prints them out and solves in, listen, I'll say pencil. It could be pen. I have no idea because I know he takes notes on the side and the margins about what he thinks needs to be changed or whatever like that.
Right. Well, I think you've answered many, many questions tonight about crossword puzzles. Noreen is suggesting the Dixon Ticonderoga number
There's
2.
a whole war over what pencil is the best. We use mechanical pencils, and it's like the Jets and the Sharks. Da-da-da-da-da. No, the
It's
Dixon
got the best, it's
Ticonderoga
got
is
the
best.
best eraser too.
Yes, absolutely.
All right, we're going to end on that controversial discussion topic. And again, thank you all for being here, especially Deb.
Yes.
I will stay
Come
on for
read,
one more.
come read Wordplay. Come play
We are
with me.
all going to read Wordplay now. It does make it easier to that we're both named Debbie or Deb. So I want to thank you all again, and I will stand for 1 minute exactly, and then I'm going to sign off. Thank you again for being here. Bye.
Thank you. Good program.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
Thanks to both of you.
Thank you. Mainly to Deb.
Thanks, Debbie. This was great.
Good. It was nice to see you, Sangeeta.
You too. I can't do Saturdays either. I can do most of Fridays, like Sundays. I love Thursdays, my favorite day because of the wordplay.
Well, now you've learned that Saturdays and Thursdays are very similar. So there you go.
Well, I think she said Sunday and Thursday. Saturday is just so hard for me.
Or Thursday and Sunday. You're right. You're
Yeah,
right.
Thursday and Sunday. Sunday is fun because it's big, and I love a real piece of paper and a pen and just sitting down in my cozy chair and
You
taking
followed
my,
her advice. That's what the first slide showed. Get
yeah,
comfortable.
I like taking my time. I don't want to time myself or compete against anybody else. I just have fun,
So it's right. It's supposed to be fun.
Yeah, it's just a solitary thing. I'm not thinking about trying to do this in a certain amount of time or
Yeah.
faster than anybody else. It's just something it's nice not to rush, especially on those harder puzzles. Like the Monday one and the Tuesday one are easy. It's like, all right, 5 minutes, 6, 7 minutes for Tuesday, whatever, 10
Yeah.
minutes.
You had 2 minutes each day, right?
Something like that. But, Wednesday gets a little harder, but still fun. But it's so true about how the more you do them, the better you get. And it's quickly, like you get better quickly. So I think that I hope people don't get frustrated by.
Well, what we learned today, the most important thing was a 12-flowered side is Oreo.
Yes.
Because Oreo is going to come up all the time.
Try to find an Oreo cookie and try to look at that. That's pretty interesting. I never noticed.
I'm going to go have a turkey club sandwich now and eat some Oreos. Very subliminal. Richard, thanks for hanging out with all of us. I'm going to end it. Nice again to see you, Sangeeta.
You too. Hope to see you at the connection soon.
Oof. Okay. Bye.
Bye.